Hello and welcome everybody to the Armored Combat Escalation Service Podcast, episode 15. Today is Monday, April 20th, 2015. I am your host, Brandon, also known as Cattra, Kell. And with me so far today, we have Tirkran. How's it going?
Pretty good.
We have Raggle. How's it going?
Hey.
And we got Thermal Scorpion. How's it going?
Good.
All right, let's just hop right into it. I think most of everybody already knows the usual in the news stuff by now. We've only been doing it for half a year, so I don't think there's anything else really that we need to bring up as far as announcements or anything like that. Is there, Tirkon?
No, not really. We do have, a couple of things that Russ discussed in the town hall, but the majority of, big news is pretty much out there already.
Oh, I just remembered one thing. If you want to play in some sort of competitive like league, we are looking for people who want to sign. I think the roster's already in though. I think it already had to be in, but MRBC Season 5. There is a thread on the forums. Definitely check it out if you're looking for that kind of thing. Other than that, I don't think there's anything.
Well, that said, while I think you're right on the roster's already been submitted, they are going to be needing other people to scrim against so that they can get ready for MRBC. So if you can stop in and help them out there, that'd be greatly appreciated. And just because you didn't make it into the roster for MRBC does not mean you cannot keep getting ready for other competitions that are going to be coming up as summer gets closer.
All right, so you already mentioned it, but our first topic is going to be the town hall. So, overall consensus.
I thought it was pretty good. It was, heavily community warfare focused for the most part, but overall, it touched on a number of topics that I was looking forward to. The biggest being the Battle of Tukiyed event, with the rumor of the map getting reset at some point soon because of the next phase of beta going to be implemented. I know there has been a large drop off in active population playing community warfare because why play, if the map's going to get reset, within a couple days. So, throwing in a large scale event like this, like the Battle of Tukiyed, is a good capstone for this first phase of community warfare. It gets people interested, to see where we are currently with community warfare and where it needs to go. I think it'll also be a good stalking horse for figuring out, how do you structure large scale community events in the future, where the focus is on teamwork and, grouping by both unit, faction, and side of Innersphere versus Clan.
Definitely. I think that was one of the biggest things. Well, there's a couple big things I think that came out of the town hall, which I want to touch on. One, which was I already had listed down, was the event, which we just touched on. So we might as well talk about that, and then we'll branch out into other things that happened in the town hall. But yeah, I think a big event like this to wrap up, I guess, quote unquote, season 1 of the whole community warfare thing, and then do a map reset type of deal. I'm kind of excited. Something like this is a really good way to actually end the event or end a season of community warfare, and hopefully we'll see some big people turn out, and I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be great. hopefully we get some more information as far as like what the rewards are going to be for participation, because I know they listed that like they're going to be adding some special, I think they said like titles as well as like other
Some
stuff.
event rewards like cockpit items. I said. Like,
Yeah,
it was like a
stuff like
reward
that.
or something.
Like, I kind of want to see that before I
It
take
was in
part
general.
as well.
They weren't really describe anything.
Yeah,
There was something.
There hasn't been any real, word on what, prizes are going to be there. All we know is that there are going to be multiple levels of prizes. There's going to be prizes given out to players on the winning side of, the Battle of the Two Kids. So, if you're a clan player and the clans win, you get a prize automatically for that. If you are an Inner Sphere player and the Inner Sphere wins, you get a prize for that. Then there's there's further breakdowns. There's going to be by the top faction in the winning side, then the top unit in the winning side, the individual players, top players. There's going to be a leaderboard for that, and then there's going to be what they said, personal player achievements. So it could be anywhere from how some of the weekend events are structured for personal, prizes to what has been done with like the stocking stuffer, the trick or treat, and the lucky event. So we don't know exactly how it is. We do know that there are going to be multiple levels, and we don't know yet what's going to be given out. But for an event this size, I fully expect there to be a number of special little things. The cockpit items, but the usual customers of MC, C-bills, mech bays, premium time. I'm kind of hoping that there might be a special mech given out or the winning side, but we'll see about that.
It'd be nice if they did a custom skin too.
Yeah.
Kind of like with the first engagement tournament, which I've never seen the skin from that because I don't think anyone that got it runs the mech it was for. So
Yeah, that sounds kind of a little bit disappointing though.
like I'm a big fan in games that I used to play. Aside from when I used to play like big-ish MMO-esque type games, I was all about them fucking rare items and shit. So to see like exclusive content not being used, it's kind of
It happens all the time.
Yeah, I know it happens all the
Like
time.
we
It just
play
makes
E,
me
they give
like
like
so
these
frustrated.
special tournament ships for prizes, and I don't think they even run those.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's human nature. People want to, the players that usually win those type of prizes, they want to run, the best that they have, the meta, so to speak. And oftentimes the prizes that are given to them are not things that they can put on that meta build for, their character, their warship, their mech. And so you never, you get these prizes given out and then they never see the light of day, really. So it's disappointing in that respect that the people that use them, that win them don't actually use them. But it is what it is. We can't twist people's arm, to force them into using it or and showing it off. I mean, well, we could, but
BRB calling the Steel Jaggers, and I'm gonna like force them. Be like, hey, get in here and drop in your special camo because I want to see it.
yeah, I mean, quit running your meta Timberwolves with your laser vomit all the time. I mean, yeah, we know that you're good with it and that you can strip the torso armor off of a Thunderbolt with one shot with it, but where's that premier mech that you got back from the launch event? Where is it? Oh, is it still gathering dust in your mech base? Yeah, that's what I thought. Wimps.
Now, to get off the topic of being bitter old assholes on the internet.
I mean, if they're willing, they could probably give it back to the community if they were all willing to give it up. The camo scheme, but I doubt
But
it.
Cattra, that's what the internet's for, to be bitter old assholes.
Whoa, man. That's very accurate.
Didn't I watch a video on that, didn't I? Could have sworn some old guy goes on the internet and then he becomes an asshole like everybody else.
So to bring it back to the town hall, again, I really hope that this episode doesn't turn out to be like us trying to talk about the town hall and then we get sidetracked into a bunch of like smaller discussion type of things, and then we never actually talk about the town hall. So I'm gonna just actually like railroad us onto the town hall again and be like 4v4 community warfare stuff. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I'm hesitant about it. I can see it working, but I can also see it getting abused. Like if you have, well, let's go with this example, a real world example. Last night, A.C.E.S was dropping onto a community warfare planet. We were mostly meeting, pug groups, which, you know, is expected for community warfare that you have, very mixed groups at times. But Jaeger was streaming from SJR, and he was streaming on NGNG, and he kind of lost a little bit, and so suddenly, towards the end of the night, 3 or 4 of his SJR buddies showed up and started dropping with him in this. And if you're gonna have them dropping as just a 4-man and not in a large group, they're gonna destroy anyone that they come up in the group queue of the of a 4v4. They're just gonna completely maul whoever they get put up against, especially if it's a small 2-man or a small 4-man of pugs that don't really know what they're doing, have just started playing MW, or just started playing community warfare for that in that respect. It's almost unfair to them to be stacking the odds like that against them. And while some people might say, well, them's are the breaks, and oh, it won't happen that often. Looking at some of the comp units that aren't very big, but they're still top tier, and they might not all drop into community warfare. They might only drop 3 or 4 guys at a time. That ups the amount of people, the chances of those 3 or 4 guys running into the pug groups, a lot higher. And it's just, I don't know. I think it's gonna, it'll be detrimental if that occurs, a lot. So the only solution I see is you have to try to work Elo into community warfare somehow, but I don't know if that's really possible.
I don't think working Elo into CW is really a thing that I want to see personally. As far as the 4v4 thing, I'm on the completely opposite side of the fence. Yeah, your comp guys are still going to be out there kicking shit. I mean, it still happens now. Like, you can take, I mean, how many times have we gone into the community warfare queue as a full 12-man and gotten our shit raffle stomped by 5, 6 House of Lords guys or something like that. Like, it still happens now, but I think with the 4v4, at least what I understand from what Russ was saying, is that they want to lower, like really lower the tonnage you're going to be able to take. And I think with that,
make it like the Warhammer game map. It's like a scouting mission.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, it's going to be something like that. But yeah, like, I think it'd be interesting. I think it's going to be different. And we have to remember that I think what's going to be really different about it is that it is going to be 4v4. It's going back to what the kind of like the alpha and beta stages of MechWarrior, where because there's only 8 people, you actually had to communicate a lot more, because you could actually do a lot more maneuvering. It wasn't relying on like some death ball alpha strike bullshit that goes on now. And because of that, I think your time to kill, depending on your tonnage limit, of course, I mean, you're probably just going to run nothing but fire starters, but albeit, I think time to kill might go down a little bit, because you just don't have the big, huge, like 12 people alpha bullshit you got going on now. Because I even gone back and watched some of the old 8v8 videos and stuff like that that are up on my channel, and time to kill is definitely a lot slower. And it's not because like, yeah, the meta is a little bit different, but I mean it's still a lot of pulse lasers, mainly medium pulse lasers at the time, and you see a lot of like AC5s and AC2s and stuff like that. Still, like it's still very somewhat reminiscent of the times now. But because you didn't have 12 people, focus firing wasn't as devastating, I guess it would be. Um, or at least that's what I noticed. So hopefully with this 4v4 game mode, and maybe if it does well, we might actually see another 8v8 come back or something like that. That's what I'm most excited for. So
Yeah,
but
you
yeah,
could like kill teams. That'd be kind of cool.
yeah, like it all kind of depends, because I mean, if they do implement the 4v4 and it's, to put it bluntly, it's absolutely fucking nothing, then like people probably won't play that mode, or at least try to avoid being put into scouting missions. Another thing as well is that you need to make it worthwhile. Like right now, the big draw to community warfare is one, it's highly competitive, and two, you make a lot of fucking money. So if these scouting missions don't pay out as much, why waste your time in a potentially somewhat longer engagement?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna wait, to weigh in further on it until we see it, start getting implemented. If I, or at least until more information is released. At this point, it's pure speculation, and it's either gonna be, we can either say, oh, it's gonna be great, or oh, it's gonna be horrible, or it's gonna be a
It's
mix
dead on
of
arrival.
great and horrible. And so, yeah, once let's wait a little bit longer for some
Yeah, I never want
real
to see a
information
mode
to
on
get
Dead
released.
Arrival. A mode should never be Dead on Arrival. It should be the new best thing, even if it's for a short while.
All right, let's move on maybe to our next topic. Somewhat continuing the talk on community warfare. I think Russ in the town hall mentioned something along the lines of trying to get dropship mode working in the pub queue.
Yes, he actually, and he gave a specific example. When he was talking about the uh, map team going back and redoing some of the older maps to update them to the way the game is played now. Though that a lot of, for those who don't realize it, a lot of the older maps like Forest Colony and River City were designed around 4v4 and 8v8. They weren't designed for 12v12, and so they feel those maps feel cramped in a lot of areas when you get fights going, and specifically River City. Most fights divulge into fighting around the Citadel, and it just doesn't feel like a large environment for those fights. So he was saying that River City is going to be the first map on the block for getting redone. And one of the changes that is confirmed to it will be that the individual lances are going to be dropped into their spawn point via dropship, which is a nice little touch to be adding to the game overall. My question is, know, is it just an aesthetic, tweak where instead of the mech just standing there, you actually fall in like you do in
I think it was
CW?
for Synamic kind of experience.
Or yeah, or are you also going to have, like in CW, kind of a some respawning added to maybe one of the game modes that already exists for those public queue maps? And if that's the case, then yeah, having the dropship fly in, put down some cover fire while they drop in your next map, your next mech, would be a very nice addition, I think. So I'm looking forward to it. Right now, it's just the Leopard class dropship mentioned, but uh, he did say that the Union has been, getting some work done on it, and that there is, that there are plans for the Union dropship to be incorporated into some type of game mode in the future.
I heard something about like the time of day function.
My biggest question though, when it comes down to putting dropship mode into the pug queue, I mean, yeah, of course I'm gonna like it. I mean, it's a new game mode. I mean, it's not new, quote unquote, because you begin in community warfare. But I wonder how much that is going to take away from community warfare, because that's one of the biggest draws to CW is that you got these unique game mode type of things. So that should be interesting. And adding on to what you were saying there, Tier, with the splitting, with Russ confirming that he's going to make it so you can, the lances all don't spawn together type of thing on the River City remake or whatever. I think you're starting to see that now with the newest maps coming out. Emerald Taiga, I think that's Taiga, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Come on, you're Canadian. You actually have Taiga.
We say decals as decals, so, or no, we say decals as decals. Shut up.
You can't even remember what your people said. What your specific.
We say
dialect
A and our
says.
milk comes in bags. That's all I know.
Jeez.
Can you go to L. Hortons?
And people complain about the American educational system.
We got the South.
But anyway, I want to call it. Yeah, no. Anyway, on the newest map there, the Emerald. Yeah, you can see that very clearly. The three spawn points are very separate from each other, drastically so, compared to like the other CW maps. When you compare to, especially something, say as simple as like a Sulfurous Rift, where you're almost like dropping in on one another. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm excited for it. Definitely, River City has always been a personal favorite of mine, mainly because you do, even though most fighting happens in the D3, C3 area, which is kind of like by the dropship ports, that sort of, or launch pad, I should say, not the dropship. The dropship's up in B4, but by water and stuff like that, there's still times where the fight pushes into like Delta 4, Delta 5 in the city area, and it's actually really good and fun fighting. So if they expand it and help like build out maybe the city some more, so you actually have more places to do in-city fighting, and maybe try to, I hate using the term, but like railroad or corral people into the city more so than fighting around the water.
You mean channel?
Channel, yeah, that's what I mean.
Sometimes I feel like it's not really a city map. It's like it's more like these buildings that are here, and we kind of run around them.
I think if they made the building population more dense, and
like a urban sprawl kind of thing.
Yeah,
the
like if they expanded it outwards, like you can still have the water channel type of thing, but maybe if it is going to be a dropship mode or a community warfare map, maybe put the generators like in thick, like urban areas, so you actually have to go into the city and fight in the city. That's what I mean. Like put some sort of incentive to actually create an urban fight area, rather than everyone just hangs out on the fringe by the water and think they're cool guys sitting on the beach or some shit. You know what I mean?
That would be nice.
I would love to see more uneven warfare, but that's just me throwing stuff in.
What do you mean?
Oh, like, one team has more than another, but the other team has more defenses. Kind of like how a siege is supposed to be.
Well,
so one team might get like a bigger, like one extra mech drop or something like that, but the other team has like
max or less tonnage, but you have a whole bunch of defenses or something.
Okay.
You got more defense. It's actually like a siege where enemy team has more to throw at you because they got to break through your defenses. But you're defending because you have less to attack with, because otherwise you would just go outside and attack them, like in Castle Warfare.
I think the challenge is that means they have to rewrite their turret code, because I remember hearing that they're having some challenges with that, which is why we're not seeing a lot of variety in turrets. Because right now, I mean, think of how dangerous those turrets are in CW, where you're bringing that much firepower to bear on the weakest, portion of the mech and hitting pretty much every time.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous in that thing.
You also have the problem of, in theory, that's how a siege is supposed to work, and in real life, that's kind of how sieges work. But this is a game, and there has to be some semblance of balance to it, or else, you know, you'll see one side is, completely, overstepping and overpowering the other side, and no one's going to want to play after that because why bother going into a mode where if you land on the wrong side you're screwed. So it's a nice idea, but it would have to get a lot of work done to it to make it a viable thing, and I don't think PGI really has the time to devote to something like that with the way that they're structured right now of getting all of their other ducks in a row and making sure they get out the door on time. So maybe in the future that could be something that they look at, but for the time being, I don't think that's something that they're even considering. Especially considering that there have been a number of people that have suggested that the clan, when you're fighting clans should be limited to 10 mechs, that it should be a binary, you know, that is dropping against a company of intersphere mechs, and that would balance it. And unfortunately, every time PGI has actually tested that, it goes horribly, horribly wrong. Things are way out of whack. There's no semblance of balance to it.
But that
So-
one time NGNG did that event that event that one time, everything was perfectly fine.
Did it
Yeah,
happen?
yes, it did. You have to pay attention more often to things other than the main PGI website. But
Joking.
the
No, I'm saying more
the
troll
way
things.
the way I would counter that argument is that you didn't have a ton of top tier players participating in those tests. It was a lot.
It was a lot of pugs. It was a
yeah.
lot of for fun. It wasn't top tier meta builds. Like you saw
Yeah.
people running like Kit Foxes and Novas and shit like that, which, albeit you do see a little bit in Community Warfare, but I can tell you right now, if it was trying to simulate what the Community Warfare experience would literally just be dire whales, timber shits, and storm crows all over the place.
Yeah, their numbers are all right. It's just the pub queue. I remember how they got that.
The pug queue is balanced, mainly because you got your winners and you got your shitters, and they all kind of go into this blender, and because of the blender and how it works, you win some, you lose some, and it just tastes of mediocrity.
Yeah.
Some days I lose every day, and some days I actually win too much.
Yeah, like,
and to those people sitting in the pug queue that are playing solo that are continuously losing and getting frustrated, I'll say the same thing I've been saying since day one of MWO. Get in a group. Find a unit that fits your play style, that fits your personality. If you are sick and tired of getting the crap kicked out of you, find a unit, find a gaming group. They are all throughout the community. There are there's the Merc faction page on the MWO website in the forums that lists every single active unit for at least the ones that are participating in the community and posting on the forums. Some groups don't actually post there anymore. SJR doesn't. EMP doesn't really. Lords don't, but those are top tier groups. You don't just wander in off the street to get into one of those. I feel a lot of them, it's you have to get personally invited at this stage of the game. But there are plenty of groups out there, A.C.E.S included, that you're sick and tired of playing solo. You want to buddy up and be part of something larger. A.C.E.S, Death Hands Brigade, A.C.E.S Wild. There are plenty of groups that will have you come in, do some drops, and test out. What do you think? So
I recommend joining a big fraction group that's organized. There's a good amount of those.
definitely. And that's not to say like you can't make mechs work for you. You just gotta also know your playstyle. Like, I think the biggest example I can think of off the top of my head of a really good, and this may be this is going to be a big disclaimer. The person I can think of right off the top of my head who runs a lot of anti-meta and continues to do exceptionally well all the time in it is Juju Shinobi, who's a friend of mine. He builds his mechs around being not meta. That's all he does, and he gets a lot of flack and he gets a lot of shit posts because of it, but it works. He constantly puts up, like, I think he took a he's the one that kind of made the Enforcer, I think, a little bit more popular with a really weird Gauss rifle and 3 pulse I think 3 medium pulse build with the biggest XL engine you can slap in there, which a lot of people are like, why would you put an XL engine in a medium mech? But it turns out you can actually do pretty well in it.
But the stock mech has XL. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, there's
One
that
of
as
them
well.
does.
But a lot of people think that medium mech you're going to get cored out real quick, which, albeit if you get an unlucky hit, yeah, you're going to. Happened to me, happened to a couple people. But, I mean, he takes these mechs and he does completely anti-meta builds with them. I think his recent post he did on Outreach was he did 17,000 points of damage or something, like, or I shouldn't say 1,000, 1,600 or 1,500 points of damage in a Hellbringer, and everyone's like, oh, you're running WUB, and he shows a screenshot, and no, it's Gauss rifle, and I think like a large and a couple medium lasers. Like, it's just stuff people, and no ECM, and it's just stuff people are like, well, why are you running that? Like, this other build's superior. But no, like, he consistently does well in non-meta, and when he plays meta, I mean, he wrecks even more shit. But I think that's the thing. You just got to find your play style, and the easiest way to probably do that sort of thing would be getting in a group.
Yeah, before they buffed the Nova, I was running the Nova with just 9 small pulse, and I was actually always enjoying that. It pulls like 700 damage every game, and then they buffed it. I'm like, why are they doing this?
Because the Nova in general was
I
suffering
know.
terribly.
It
so.
was just, I know why it's bad, but I just enjoyed the buff because it was just too much.
But speaking of mechs, during the town hall, we did have a couple announcements on mechs. One question aimed to Russ was about what possible new mechs are going to be coming down the pipeline. People asked about the Wolfhound and the Bushwhacker, and we were told the Wolfhound is definitely game that they want it. Russ wants to have it in there. Concept art has been finished on the Mauler, the Black Knight, and the Cyclops, and he'd like to see that. He'd also like to see the 2Cs come into play. For those who are unfamiliar with BattleTech canon, 2Cs are basically clan, battle mechs that are upgunned, improved technology versions of Inner
Oh, the
Sphere
one with C,
mechs.
yeah, the 2C.
So yeah, so you have like the regular Hunchback is an Inner Sphere mech. There is the Hunchback 2C that is a clan mech, which mounts 2 AC. I think it's either 2 UAC AC UAC 20s.
Almost every single
Yeah,
IS mech in clan version.
no,
Not all.
It's very
Almost.
limited
That's why
actually. And these mechs are predominantly used by the garrison troops, the Salahama units of the clans, basically old warriors that have not gained recognition, and this is their last chance to gain gain recognition before they are completely retired. And so they're not necessarily the best mechs, but they are usually superior to their Inner Sphere counterparts. They're not Omni mechs, which is a big big change for the clans. They are standard battle mechs. They don't use the Omni Point system. So
Clan Urban Mech.
There is a Clan Urban Mech. There is an Urban Mech 2C. There's a Jenner 2C, the Urban Mech 2C, the Hunchback 2C, the
Can you remember the
Rifleman
Wolverine
2C.
name?
The Wolverine.
They renamed it because I can't
yeah,
remember.
and that's controversial. That has not been confirmed as being canon. But so we've got Russ saying that Wolfhound, he'd like to see it in there. The Mauler, the Black Knight, and Cyclops do have concept art. He also mentioned about that he did reach out to Harmony Gold recently about the unseen that could not be included in the Project Phoenix packages. Predominantly, the ones that are that most BattleTech fans are familiar with are the Marauder, the Warhammer, the Archer. Those three, they were not included because they fall within this very weird legal issue with who owns property rights and who has access to them. And Russ is saying that they might PGI might pull the trigger on redesigning those unseen to a point where they can chance putting them in and not have to worry about Harmony Gold bringing a suit against them.
I always thought that was too, because whoever owns the battle lore technically owns all the rights. It's like saying someone owned the rights to Warhammer just because they made a game.
No, it's a very complicated issue. There are redesigns that got done a couple years ago called the Re-Scene, that of all those the 12 mechs that basically had issue in terms of the trademark. They had a redesign. You can find a lot of those images on Sarna, and you can see what's been done. I could easily see PGI using those images as a basis for their own designs, and that would probably help them avoid.
Oh, you're saying like the design is really only the issue? Okay, yeah, because you can just. Is there like an older design, or they did a new design?
Yeah, there have been multiple designs, and some of them fall within this trademark and copyright issue.
I can see that. Yeah, I could. If they take the original design and then reinvent it, yeah, that's fine. But they can't use the revised design, whatever.
They could. PGI could technically use the revised design. They can't use the original. And there's
that's weird.
It's a very messy thing, and we could devote an entire podcast to that issue. So, but we're not.
Why is the original? Why wouldn't the original fall in Battle Lore Tech though, or is the original?
No, the original designs were licensed from Japanese companies that developed Macraw, which in the States in the West is often called Robotech. Those images were licensed by the company that became Battle Lore, and the rights to them
was predecessor. It was before.
Yeah, it's as I said, it's very messy. We can't really go into it fully because it's
it makes perfect sense to me, because they owned it before even it was BattleTech, right?
Yes,
that makes perfect sense.
It does and it doesn't. As I said, it's a very complicated issue, and as Russ has said, it's very complicated. I've said it's very complicated. Anyone who is familiar with the issue knows it is more complicated than what you're thinking, Raggle. You had to fully grasp it. You have to go and read up on it. And
no, I read some before, but I still wasn't quite sure. But you made a little bit more sense.
You could have a whole podcast on that.
I didn't know like someone else owned it beforehand, and then like we were a company and they licensed like the image design, and then they made it using that image design. They made something up for BattleTech, and then they continue on and stuff like that. I can understand.
Yeah. So no, but the other mech news that we got is the some new reinforcement mechs coming to the gift shop, which will eventually get released into the wider game. We've got the Griffin 2N, the Locust 3V, the Highlander 732B, the Mistlynx D, the Ice Ferret B, the Nova C, the Stormcrow B, the Timberwolf A, and the Gargoyle B.
And all the stats are up on the website for those as well now.
Yeah, I heard about that, and I said some of the climate variants they released are going to release those, and if they are they going to be better? Like, I mean, they're going to ever fix some of those variants? 'Cause I heard some of the variants aren't that great.
It's not so much
an
the
omni-map.
variants themselves alone are good.
Yeah, that's what
it's
I'm
what they
trying
can be combined with, which can potentially have some negative things, mainly the Stormcrow and Timberwolf, which honestly didn't need more variants.
Yeah, I didn't. Those are the ones I'm not talking about. I'm talking about like the ones that are considered, subpar, or they got some weird variants.
But this actually segues really good into the next topic I want to talk about, so we'll continue talking about it. What's your guys' thoughts about PGI utilizing the shop first, and then to MC, and then to C-bills type of thing?
I'm torn on it because without seeing their numbers, I don't know if they're actually making money on it. You're always going to have those players that don't want to do the grind, that don't want to earn the C-bills to buy a mech, so they're going to spend real money on it. That said, I don't know if I really like the idea of having a separate store from the MC, that you can't use if you've already purchased MC, that you can't use it in the gift shop or, the shop to buy those, these new released mechs. I think there's kind of a disconnect there, that if you're going to release a mech for real money, then you should have the option to purchase it either via MC or via, real money, because MC you already purchased for real money.
Yeah, that makes a little bit.
So I don't see why you should release it to the gift shop, then release it for MC, then release it for C-bills. That seems to be, it seems to be needlessly complicated, and as I said, without seeing their internal numbers, I don't know if it's working out, if it really works for making PGI money.
Plus the time involved, because they release it in the shop and it takes X amount of time for it to go from the shop to MC and C-bills. And some of these mechs, like that new Timberwolf's going to create an imbalance, whether they want to admit it or not. Having a high mount pod that you can throw on there, you can do 3 ER large lasers and 6 small lasers, right?
Yeah.
That's going to cause an imbalance, and
Ooh, no.
That's.
And it's not even so
I
much
really
that,
think
it's
they should
also-
just release it for MC first and
Yeah.
nix the cash store, and then have it do C-bills like they used to do in the past.
That's what I was about to say. 3 levels of exclusive God, damn it. No. Yeah, we're just gonna
Keep it
break
on
out
the-
into
I'm
freeform
scared.
jazz. I love it. Welcome to the freeform jazz podcast. I am your host. Having 3 levels of it being exclusive, is kind of, in my opinion, a little bit silly. It's mainly when you already have the MC system in game. I haven't spent MC in probably a long time, aside from getting one-shot camos and stuff like that. I actually haven't.
I did that too much.
Yeah, I'm sitting on almost 20 to 21,000 MC. I have MC I want to spend, but we haven't had a hero mech in a long time, which is what I usually picked up with my MC. We haven't had a hero
I
mech
heard
in
they're
a really
getting a
long
new
time.
hero mech. It's either Wolverine or there's another mech.
Thunderbolt.
Maybe I
Wolverine.
actually know what it is, and not allowed to say.
That's okay. I understand.
But-
I really hope it's not a Thunderbolt. We have
But I
plenty
mean,
of Thunderbolts in the game.
what I can see is that this is a whole other topic that we're already segueing off to. But back to what I was saying, there hasn't been anything added recently in the game that I'm really inclined to drop MC on, mainly because it's all been in mech packs, which I already own, which I've just went out and bought. So I don't buy them with MC. 2, as the case with the original reinforcements variants, that came out, not the new ones, but the ones before, the one that I wasn't going to drop another. I like I said, I'm sitting on 20 some thousand MC. I'm not going to go drop another $28 real life money to get something that I might want. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'd wait till it's released for either MC or C bills, and the chances are I only want like an arm off the gargoyle, so I'm not gonna drop 6,000 MC for an arm.
Yeah, it as I
So
said,
yeah,
I think they're
the three
overcomplicating it.
tiers. I can see some good out of it. Like for example, the extra Highlander variant. If someone wants to go out and spend real life money on that, whatever. I'd say honestly, do it in two ways. Release it. This is how I would do the cash shop if I was able to do it. Release it on the website for cash as the same time as you release it in game for MC. That way, the people that don't have MC have a way to get it just by using a PayPal account or something like that, and they don't have to buy some odd. They're not forced into like some odd end or some odd number of MC purchase.
Oh yeah, like a direct value from MC to
Yeah,
cash.
exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of having to spend like, example, I'm looking at the MC. If I wanted to get the new Griffin, which is 2,250 MC, if I wanted to do that, I'd have to get 3,000 MC, which is a $15 purchase. If I only want that one variant and I don't plan on buying anything else,
The only
Why would
reason
I-
I want to say like why, is because when you buy more, it gives you incentive to get more MC.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I mean, if I know I'm not going to buy anything else with
Okay,
MC,
yeah, I understand what you're
Yeah.
trying to say, but like that's the whole point.
yeah, no, understandable. Like, but that also gives at the same time the people who are like me squatting on a lot of MC something to spend it on and not have to wait till like 3 months out. And then by that point, why not just wait the extra 2 weeks and get it for C bills when it comes out?
Yeah.
So it's as I said, it seems like an overly complicated system. I think your idea, Cattra, is a better one, and I think that's actually kind of what World of Tanks and War Thunder do. Um, Probably a couple other major online games do a similar system as well.
They have a hybrid system, like kind of like what I was suggesting. Yeah, you can either get it in like a because I was recently just considering purchasing a tank and a plane in War Thunder a couple days ago, and I didn't actually go out through with it. But I was looking like, okay, I can buy $14 worth of Gold Eagles and buy a couple things. Or I could buy a bundle for roughly the same price. I get like 2 planes and a tank or something like that. And it's like, oh, you can weigh your options. But also, the tricky thing with that is that some stuff's exclusive. So like, for example, I think it's one of the American planes is exclusive to like a bundle. Even if you bought Gold Eagles, you can't get it unless you buy like a $15 or $16 bundle. So it's like, oh, well, okay, then I guess I'll have to buy the bundle if I want that plane. But anyway, sidetracking, let's talk about the variants. The biggest surprise to me is we're getting the equivalent of what I would call a quote-unquote free Dragon Slayer and a Griffin with ECM. Those are basically the 2 mechs that I'm most excited for, because, I mean, the Locust, it's a whatever, there's no Pirate's Bane, and clan mechs don't interest me.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, actually, that the Griffin 2N and the Highlander 732B, they are in BattleTech canon Royal Star League Defense Force Royal units. They were not issued to the Great Houses. They were not issued to the regular Star League troops. They were only Terran Hegemony, Royal units. You had to be, the top level to be to get into one of these units and to get one of these mechs. They and it wasn't just skill wise. You also, one of the requirements was you had to have been born in the Terran hegemony. You had to be a hegemony, a natural born hegemony citizen in order to become one of these units. It didn't matter if you were an ace pilot in a different Star League unit and you had been born elsewhere. If you were not born in the hegemony, you couldn't get in. And even if you had been born in the hegemony, if you weren't a top tier soldier, you couldn't get into that type of a unit. And the mechs that were issued to them, as you can see with the Griffin 2N and the Highlander 732B, are they boasted the best technology for the day. They were always the cutting edge tech. So with the Griffin, you've got an ERPPC, you've got two SRM6s with case, and the big thing there is you've got Guardian ECM, which is a big thing for a medium mech to have. Mediums, they're fast, but they're not as fast as lights, so they can't count on speed as much to avoid fire. They've got armor, but they don't have as much armor as a heavy does, so they can't really tank in general. So getting ECM for one is a good trade-off, and at this point in time, the only medium mech that has ECM, at least for the inner sphere, is the Cicada, which the Cicada is really designed as a slightly uptunned light mech, not as really a medium mech. So getting a Griffin, a 55 tonner with ECM is gonna be very fun and very interesting. It's you know definitely gonna fill a small gap in terms of the fighting in the game. That this Griffin, in terms of its weapon points, it can mount two missiles in each side torso, so for a total of 4 overall. It has 2 energy in the right arm. I mean, it comes stock with the 2 SRM6 and the ERPPC, but I can see people ripping that PPC out, putting in 2 medium lasers instead, throwing in endo steel for the weight savings, and throwing in 2 more SRM6. This thing with the ECM and 4 missiles is going to be a beast when it comes to up close SRM bombing.
I'm gonna add the negatives. By adding a better mech, as everything, you make all other mechs slightly less, but it fits his role. It's gonna equal to the. It can't say that equal to Stormcrow, but it's gonna help us balance against clans. But it's gonna make like I said, one up makes other mechs look kind of worse on the same tier. Can't say all of them because they all do different things. But I'm gonna basically point out one mech in particular, was the Hunchback SB. This might replace it completely. You might not see that mech anymore.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be the Griffin 2N. As Kier was saying, like the ECM capable, and then those like dual shoulder mounted missile head points, I think are going to be phenomenal.
You mean quad mounted, because there's
Well, yeah.
4.
Well, I mean, it's the two pods, right? So
That's
Got
the
that nice
the new
arms,
SRM
too.
bomber right there.
yeah, well, that's pretty much what it is. It's okay. Let's see here. And here's the thing: the best part, the ECM is in the left torso. It's not even like stuck on an arm or something like that, so you might potentially lose it. Like it's right in there with your main core weapons. You could potentially somewhat, even if you drop like the 2 energy and just go missiles. I mean, it's going to be highly stupid if you do this, but you could potentially somewhat, I mean, it's got no center or head laser, but you could potentially make this as like a zombie missile bomber
I hate to say
with
this
ECM.
also, but it's a better version of the Vindicator hero mech.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I know I've personally been like already running down a checklist of like what do I want to put on this mech, and I mean I've pretty much come to like I'm probably going to put 4 SRM4s, ECM, and I'm going to try to shove on probably a PPC or something like that. Like it's just gonna be overall good.
I see NCW. I might try to fit a PPC in there because then I can fire with a lot of long range and then not fire it up close. But if I'm playing like a pub match, just run around, blast people. Okay, you go ahead.
Yeah, the thing about this though is I don't know if it's necessarily going to replace the Griffin 3M, which is the current favorite inner sphere SRM bomber for the mediums. This is mainly due to the fact that the 3M is very zombie, because it's an asymmetrical build. Everything's on the right side, so you can use that left side as a giant shield, both the arm and the side torso. With the 2N, you don't have a shield, so it's definitely going to be one of those mechs where you're going to have to be a little bit more careful in spreading the damage. You cannot, just torso twist one way and expect to, keep the majority of your firepower by doing so. Uh, it's so I think this is going to be a very good SRM bomber. Yeah, it's probably going to replace the Hunchback 4SP, but I don't think it's going to replace the Griffin 3M or even really the Shadowhawk 2H, or I can't remember which Shadowhawk it is, but it's definitely, I can definitely see it included in a medium lance of them providing the ECM cover. You suddenly have a 3M, a 3M Griffin coming in, a Griffin 2N providing ECM as well as additional SRM bomb. You
I
get
can see this as a
a
wave.
lance of those put together. That's a worst case scenario for
Drop
someone
12
to
of
run
those.
into that.
You can't missile it. It'd just be like Stormcrows just stand around. And you blast the Stormcrows to hell if they're running streaks. Just streaks.
But
Oh god.
the Highlander
Well-
732. I don't know, man.
Like I said, the Highlander 732 is, like I said, it's the Dragon Slayer if you don't own Dragon Slayer. It's the Dragon
can I add something
Slayer
to
for
this?
C-bills.
They were talking about boosting jump jets, and this is with the Highlander, like certain mechs that need it. They're thinking especially assaults and mediums. Not
Something
many
like that,
heavies.
probably.
Not many
I
heavies,
know
I
there's because I mean that's also in the show notes as well as a question that was asked. Like, if later on when more quirks come into play, that will there be more like some more non-weapon type quirks type of deal? And I mean, I think Russ even specifically said that like jump jets and even ammo quirks are definitely being considered for like certain mechs.
Yeah. The Highlanders definitely need love when it comes to their jump jets.
I think, definitely the Highlander. I could, you know what? As much as I hated the stupid as hell Pop-Tart meta, and this is my own personal opinion, the jump jets on the Highlander always felt right. Right up until, of course, the big change and everything like that. So
but I mean, you can tell there is a huge issue with jump jets on the Highlanders when you can take the one version, the variant that has 5 or 6 on there, put all 5 or 6,
and it still does jack
it
shit.
still doesn't do anything. It can barely make it, to clear a small building. It's ridiculous. It's why Highlanders have been nicknamed Hovernators, because
I call it the Lowlander.
yeah, they can't jump. They can. It's like that old movie, an old saying: white men can't jump. Well, Highlanders can't jump.
Well, Highlanders were, of the northern, like, European type areas. I mean,
but we all know from BattleTech Can, Highlanders are meant to jump.
Highlanders are made to jump as hell. I mean, like, Highlander Burial, is like the biggest, like,
I would love to see that too.
motherfuckery dank meme I know. Like,
yeah, but I mean, even looking at the design of a Highlander, look at the legs. The legs are superiorly reinforced compared to any other jump capable mech. Be it even the Victors, their legs are not as reinforced looking as a Highlander's, and that's because a Highlander is meant to jump and to use its weight to do so.
I said it before they changed jump jets. Some mechs are just designed to be jumpers, and you can equip jump jets in any mech. Well, not any mech. Most mechs they have them, but it's all about design when it comes to jumping.
But overall, the 732B, not really that impressive compared to the 732 stock, which if you're buying a Highlander and you get the 732, you're going to put in the upgrades that the 732B has anyway, which the only upgrades the 732B has are ferrofibers, which the 732 also gets, and double heat sinks, which the 732 doesn't have. So and also it has Artemis, so Yeah, for an SRM-6 and an LRM-20, it has Artemis on them, which most players are not going to keep because
No, too much hard points and the extra tonnage kills you.
yeah. So uh, that's one of those mechs where putting it in the cash shop, I don't think people are going to buy this for real money. Even for putting it up for MC, I don't think people are going to buy it. Unless that you're the one, you're those people, you're those players that are so adverse to grinding for C bills that you immediately jump on a mech like this. When it is available for MC, which without seeing real numbers, I can't say, definitively, yes or no on it. But I honestly don't see a lot of people doing that in MWO. MC, most players are like you and I, Cattra, and even Raggle. We harbor our, we squirrel away our MC very judiciously. We are not spending it, willy nilly on, you know, regular mechs like this. We spend them on heroes. We spend them on, special, very special mechs or very special perks that, are not easy to come by. And so putting this out there, as we said earlier, for both a, money shop, then for MC, then for C-Bills, a mech like this, it just doesn't feel like, it should be there. The Griffin, a little bit more forgivable. Highlander, not so much. The Locust, I have no, it's a Locust. I can't
It's a
understand why you're
locust.
doing that.
Enough said.
The clan mechs, I don't see the point because clan mechs with the way that they are with the omnipod system,
They're boring.
yeah, it's redundant doing the the various levels because most people, some people are going to buy them. Yeah.
Oh, they're going
buy
to be eaten out. Like the timber, I can tell you that. Like
Darwell.
I can tell you right now, your best 3 sellers out of this pack: Timberwolf, Stormcrow, Griffin.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to sell.
Remember the jump jet Darwell? You know how many people bought that?
No, the dire. That one was the
That was last
talking...
reinforcement. That comes out for C-Bills this patch tomorrow.
So, but in this direwolf, in this upcoming shop package it's interesting from a lore standpoint because this is the version that the Wolf's Dragoons created. Their their variant of it, but from a gameplay perspective, it's it's not really that great. I mean, even the the weapons on it, yeah, it was designed to be effective at numerous at every range possible because it's got Gauss rifle and ER large laser for long range with an LRM-20 to back it up. It's got an ultra AC-20 for close range with 2 medium pulse lasers. So it's got every range covered, but in a game like MWO, you don't need to have every range covered on a single mech. It's the game is much faster paced. It's much more pinpoint. Having a mech like this, yeah, it's well balanced for real world warfare, for tabletop warfare, but for a video game, it doesn't really work. So I don't expect to see a lot of these running around.
I
If
disagree
anything,
with
one
you.
or two people are going to take the omnipods off of it for something else, but stock sitting the way it is, no, I don't see a lot of it.
I
Showing
think
up.
something as slow as a direwolf does need to have more range variation, but this mech is not what I would pick to do that. The pods really aren't very good on it,
But I can
right?
easily
Like
hit you
the
up close
core
with
is
the
the
long
core
range
is
build.
good because you get 3 energy between the head and the center torso, but like the rest of the pods to me aren't worth spending the money on this mech.
I mean, looking at that, it's like with even the the jumping direwolf, the direwolf S. Seeing those those arm pods with a single large laser in them, it just looks silly. It looks completely silly seeing that.
I think what you'll see is people buying the core of this mech and then putting on the
laser
all
arm.
the other
G1 ballistic.
yeah,
I
like
was seeing
said,
it already. Laser build.
and you're going to see the massive amount of small lasers and a couple of Gauss rifles or something.
Yeah, so putting the clans up like this, I understand what PGI is trying to do. They're trying to raise money and get money from their player base for it. But
I mean, a lot of us, like
I
I was saying before, this harkens back to what you just said previously. Like, a lot of us already have money on our accounts that we're not spending because there's nothing that we don't like. I just looked through my transaction history. My last purchase, like my last big purchase, was when they had the New Year mech sale. I bought the Sparky, January 15th of this year for like 2,000 MC. Like,
Yep.
That was my last purchase. The purchase before that was back in like November. Like, I've just been squatting on MC, and there's been nothing. Like, we've been like Hero Mechs. We've had a drought of Hero Mechs for what, like 4 months?
Last
Something like that.
Hero
I think it was
Mechs,
the Shadowhawk and the
Locust.
which was my November purchase. Yeah. So
Yeah, we have not had a Hero Mech release since November. I mean, granted, that was a double release with the Locust and the
heavens, yes.
Shadowhawk. So it's understandable that you don't get one in December because of that. Also understandable because they released the Atlas S, the King Crab, the Centurion AH. They released the 3, limited edition skinned ones all at the same time. Because of that, they released all of the clan pack, the second wave clan mechs. They've just released the resistance mechs. It's understandable
they're
that
busy,
we haven't
yeah,
had
but there's
one,
not like, I understand those are big packs, they're pre-orders and stuff like that, but like something. I mean, we are supposed to be getting a Hero Mech soon, and I was hoping to touch on that, but our time is Jesus.
Well, we know we're getting the Wolverine Champion is coming. It's supposed to come out tomorrow. We haven't seen what it actually is yet, so that's gonna be curious.
Yeah, that's iffy. And I mean, the Wolverine, I don't think has a Hero Mech either, right? So
No.
Wolverine
Currently, the Inner Sphere mechs, if we're not counting the ones that have just been released in the Resistance pack,
which you say wasn't.
and we're not counting the Urban mech because it's just been released, we don't have a hero for the Wolverine, we don't have a hero for the Thunderbolt, and we don't have a hero for the King Crab.
The Mecha King Crab.
And in terms of champions, we just got our Thunderbolt champion a little while back. We're getting our Wolverine champion, and then I think the only 2 mechs that are not currently in a packs that don't have a champion are the Awesome and the King Crab. So I don't know if the Awesome's ever going to get a champion. I kind of want it to, because I've always
the Enforcer just came out. Yeah,
so
you're right. For a moment I thought the Enforcer was the Vindicator. That's what I had in my mind. I'm like, no, wait, the Vindicator has a hero mech.
No, it has a hero mech. You just
doesn't
forget
have a
that the
champion.
Vindicator isn't even a mech.
But actually, that
also
reminds me. I don't
back,
think the Vindicator has a champion, does it? So there's there's another mech that doesn't have a champion yet. So,
but then again, to call back on that, I mean, who actually buys?
They have
champion
to add
mechs?
some serious quirks to Vindicator before they even think about releasing a champion.
Well, again, calling back, like, who actually buys champion mechs? Like, let's.
Yeah, it's the only champions I have are the ones that I got for free from
events and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm the same way.
But,
and I've considered turning around selling them on multiple occasions.
But I love my hero mechs. There are very few hero mechs that I don't have, and they are predominantly in mechs in the mechs that I don't have. Like, I don't have any Cicadas, so I don't have an X5. I don't have any Vindicators, so I don't have a St. Ives Blues. I don't have any Awesome, so I don't have a Pretty Baby. But any other mech that I own, I have the hero of it. The exceptions to that are the Locust and the Shadowhawk, and that was mainly because I didn't jump on the sale when it happened, and I'm adverse to paying full price on them.
So let's move on to our next topic, since we talked about the store for an hour.
But it's fine. We have like all the time.
Yeah, I love it. Though I might just make this one. We'll wrap this up soon enough. Because I want to blow some mechs up. But touched on it slightly with weapon quirks and stuff like that, and we touched it again slightly when we talked about jump jets and stuff like that. But what are your thoughts about quirking ammo per ton for certain mechs?
It makes sense in a way, especially considering, the size of a mech, the dimensions of a mech. You'd expect, some mechs to have larger ammo bins. The Hunchback being smaller, you don't expect it to have as much ammo, per bin as say the Atlas might have, for that AC-20. So in a way, yeah, it kind of makes sense that you'd have a little extra ammo here and there in certain mechs. So
Yeah.
I'm all for including those quirks. I think it'd be a great
Especially
little,
for AC2s.
yeah, like the Jaeger. Yeah, definitely on the Jaeger mechs, throwing in extra, an extra quirk here and there for, some of the stock variants for, yeah, why should it have, two AC2s? It's like, well, because it gets this quirk that, it can carry an extra, 100 rounds per ton or extra 50 rounds per ton of ammo. And yeah, that would totally make sense. It would be great to have that quirk added into something like that, because then you're not going to see, just Gauss rifle, boom Jaegers, and chainsaw Jaegers. You're going
Well,
to see some variation in that sense.
anything that makes mechs that aren't used now more likely to be used is a good thing. I mean, think of the catapults. Like, how often we see catapults these days because of the big missile doors or the missile bays. If they got more ammo, maybe we would see more of them, right? And it would inject them back into the game, and it would help add variety to battles where maybe it's not just going to be meta over and over again.
Yeah. So I'm all for, having ammo quirks thrown in. As I said, I think it would add a good amount of flavor that many mechs and that the game needs.
Yeah, I would love to sing my 1C back, Dragon, because I used to run.
Yeah.
I had an AC2 build going for it, but I can only fit 2 tons of ammo.
Well, yeah, that's just it. Like, this is what I was thinking as well. Like, you'll see some weird builds come in favor because you're able to, instead of like putting yourself down to half armor or having to squeeze maybe an XL engine in there because you want ammo for your guns and shit, that you might be able to. That being said, I would probably call the cutoff for like bonus ammo at like 25%. I'd say the most I'd ever want to see for a quirk is like maybe 25-30% increase in ammo. Mainly because I don't want to have it become a thing where I put 1 ton of ammo in and I get basically the equivalent of 2 tons type of thing. I'd be perfectly fine.
If it was AC2, I wouldn't care that much.
Yeah. Well, AC2 might be an exception, but like, for example, let's just say like the way I always consider it was like 25%. So instead of having to put 5 tons of ammo in, I could put 4 and then add another heat sink type of thing. Like something small like that, so you don't devastate, like completely blow it out of the water type of deal.
Yeah, it would make sense to limit it by both, the type of ammo and, what weapon it's for. I mean, the AC2, yeah, you could probably get away with having a slightly higher percent, increase. Uh, AC5, AC5s, considering their placement in the game, those are the one that'd definitely be a quirk I'd say needs to be on the lower end, maybe 10%.
Especially for the mechs that already have quirks for it, because usually they don't run out of ammo because they already have all the ammo they need.
Yeah, like the dragon. What is it?
The one
N with the dual.
It's too ridiculous.
5s. Yeah, I would not want to see that thing getting a large ammo quirk to it because
I don't even think it needs an ammo quirk. Like,
yeah.
I think quirks should be targeted to mechs that really are substandard compared to mechs like that particular dragon, right? Like, maybe you're trading off the AC2s, getting more ammo for your AC2s because that other one can chainsaw AC5s and put out so much damage.
Yeah,
I think the quirk is too good. Like,
yeah,
it's supposed to be a lower version, but
well, see, Thermal, you and I are in agreement on that. The mechs that should be getting quirks are the mechs that need them. but there's always going to be that, very vocal minority that say, well, this mech got an ammo quirk, and this mech's the same mech. It just
I
has a
don't like
different
it.
ammo,
Fix it.
has a different weapon loadout. Why can't it get ammo quirks as well? And it's
Yeah.
going to be because that breaks the balance, that it doesn't need it. And it's like, well, I want my, extra 30% ammo quirk for my AC5s on my Dragon 1N, and it's like,
I
it
don't
doesn't need it.
personally. I pilot that mech, and I feel like I have too much ammo. The problem is that you putting all your stuff into ammo, so you
Yeah,
don't need anything else.
I think quirks really need to be focused on mechs that need the quirks to make them playable versus increasing the power of an already powerful mech. I mean, it just makes no sense to do it otherwise, because then you're just adding to the meta and perhaps the deficit that you're going to see when you're facing those mechs, and the fact that all these mechs they spend all this time and money developing and testing are not actually being utilized because they aren't worth it.
But on the same sense, would we be, we're okay. We seem to be okay with, some manner of positive quirk for ammo. Would we be okay with negative quirks on ammo?
Yep.
I'm specifically thinking of some of the light mechs, that should they be able to carry as much ammo as they actually do for the
You mean
size
like
of that
machine
mech?
guns or?
Like for SRMs,
SRM is ridiculous.
like the Oxide and the Hugin, which are phenomenally great mechs for destroying other people with SRMs. But like the Hugin, most people I know, they run it with like 4 tons of SRM ammo, which is like 400 rounds. Should a Hugin actually be able to necessarily carry that much ammo in its ammo bins, considering the size of the mech? You know, a flavor quirk there. If there's been a lot of complaints about the SRM fire, being so rapid from a Hugin. Maybe throw a negative quirk on its ammo bins that you lose, like 10%. Its ammo bins are 10% smaller, so instead of getting the full 100 rounds per ton, you only get 90 rounds or 80 rounds per ton instead. It's you know and that's just an example I came up with, on the fly. But would we be okay with, a negative quirk like that?
I don't know how I feel on that. Like, I can understand some things, maybe, but I mean, some light mechs are already getting the shit kicked out of them already. Like, why put a mech down even more?
Yeah, well, I'm just using the light
Yeah,
mechs
no,
as
of course
as
it's just being like an example, like an exaggerated example. I understand that, but like, I feel like honestly, I'd probably not be all right with negative ammo quirks. Mainly for the reasons that you're already dedicating a ton out of what you could put into like a heat sink or something like that. To not get the somewhat full amount out of a ton is weird. If you get a bonus, that's just, like I said, a bonus. It's something whatever. But to get a negative, once you start putting negative in for ammo quirks, I think you really start to maybe limit or twist the arm of the player and what they want to do with customization more so than like positive quirks, if that makes sense. Because I mean, I see positive quirks as not really a suggestion.
I see it more as a
but like
balance towards the better ones.
Sorry, go ahead.
I see it as like if it helps you like put it the mech to where it's supposed to be. Like if it's supposed to have something.
Like I'm trying to think how to phrase this properly. It's more like a bonus. Right now I can take any mech. More
like
or
generosity.
Less. Yeah, generosity or like a bonus or something like that. But like it doesn't make me have to play that way. Like I can take any mech, load whatever the hell I want on with it, and it just so happens to link up with quirks. Oh, that's a bonus. But when you start putting negative quirks onto it, then it's like, well, now I have to really kind of consider. I can't just run really.
I got a perfect example for you. The flame.
Flame.
Dragon flame.
What about it?
It has an AC, but it has a lot of laser alarms.
Yeah.
If you put negative, you could put like a negative like Gauss ammo on it if you wanted to, because you think it carries too much Gauss ammo.
Yeah. Again, I'm just personally I don't like the idea of negative
Well, it doesn't really
ammo,
fit in
but-
there because I can't get a good example because I really don't think there's a good example for too much ammo. All of the mechs that dedicate themselves to the ammo, and even then, like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of SRM mechs, they say, is that you have to still go up close to use them. So you gotta take fire back. You gotta play smart.
I just want to let's move on to our next topic. I think we beat this one a little bit of horse. How about that announcement that with Mask, we got a little bit of insight on Mask, the mechanics of it and stuff like that, and also that the Arctic Cheetah, when Mask is enabled, might be able to run 170.
See, I'm a little torn on the mask issue. I feel like for clan mechs, mask is gonna need to be hard locked like jump jets are by the
Yes.
Omnipod.
For clan mechs, I think
Yes.
it's already confirmed that they are.
Well, if that's the case, then the Arctic Cheetah can't equip mask. So saying that,
I think
well,
one of them has a variant. I think
the Arctic Cheetah does. I don't. In the variants listed, does not have any variant that has mask on it. The
Shit.
Shadowhawk does, and the Shadowcat does, and the Executioner do. But
man, we're getting the Shadowhawk 2C. Why didn't you tell me?
yeah, so actually, the Shadowhawk 2C, I don't know if they can include that one. That might be one of the
I'm just
unseen,
trolling.
actually. But it was funny that one got, the Arctic Cheetah got brought up with the mask example, and I looked through
You're
the
right.
notes,
I
and I'm
just
like,
did a quick look there.
it doesn't get mask. Why are we saying
No,
this?
yeah. Maybe it's just maybe it's just an example because I mean
And
they
the
can
gargoyle.
go in there and dev tool shit and make it have mask, like
Yeah.
force it on. I'm wondering if they're just doing it to test the engine.
Yeah, so
Gargoyle, and the gargoyle doesn't even come with mask either, does it?
the gargoyle
think-
doesn't. The
No.
the clan mechs that come with mask are the Executioner, the Arctic Cheetah, the Dasher or Fire Moth as it's called, but that hasn't been announced, as a possibility due to server issues, because when that has its mask enabled, it goes over 200 kph. I think it's 210, which they've said in the past would cause issues for these servers. So I'm okay with mask. I kind of I was worried with how it was going to be implemented in terms of, how do you turn it on and off, and how do you, equate the abilities of it, because in the lore we know that you can use mask, but you can only use it for a little bit of time before it starts doing damage internally to a mech. Either it starts, causing the myomer muscle bundles to wear out faster, it causes
lock
the
up.
internal, skeleton and the actuators to start wearing out. It causes damage to them. It causes damage to the engine. So, how do you implement that into a game where, it's not a long campaign setting where damage accumulates between matches? It's, single matches, or it's community warfare, which is one giant match. But at the end of the match, everything, basically reverts in terms of your mech. You don't have to pay a damage cost to repair damage. You don't have to pay a penalty if you take that mech without, having it repaired. So I was worried how mask would be implemented, and Russ's announcement that, it's going to be triggered similar to how jump jets are triggered. The longer you hold it down, the longer you can run, but the higher your risk is of damaging the internal structure of the leg, which I
thought it
think,
was more like it was gonna power up and power down or something, and but you can spam if you try to spam it too much in a row, it would cause damage. I thought.
Yeah, internal damage to legs.
yeah, the what you're referring to, Raggle, is the way it works in tabletop. For the game, from what Russ was indicating, it's going to work more a little bit, more like how the jump jets. There's going to be a meter, basically telling you how much you have to, continue, for your timer for how long you can run before you get into danger area.
I'm perfectly alright with that. The only thing I want is I want a really slow ass time on the refill if it refills during the match type of thing. You know what I mean? Like jump
Yeah.
jets, you get a refill rate, it's decent. Mask, it should be used for one of those oh shit moments, not just for like
That's what it's
general
meant for,
sprinting
yeah.
around the map.
Yeah. It in the mechs that it's included on, if you look at the way they're written up in the lore, the executioner, it's on there so the executioner can power forward and get into the fight when it needs to, or put distance away from a speedier opponent so that it can bring its longer range variants, to bear at a advantage to itself. For something like the cheetah, it's meant to, power it through when it needs to slip past a defender very quickly or to run down an enemy that is that is starting to outpace it. It's not meant to be, turned on all the time, which, knowing certain players and how they play, they're probably going to forget that. They're going to use it as much as they can, and until they blow off their leg the first couple times, that's how they're going to do it. And so my question, to Russ and PGI is going to be, what's the damage threshold? How close is close? How much can you push the line on using mask before you definitely start seeing damage accumulate? That's going to be one of those meta questions that, the top tier players, they're going to figure it out very quickly. Everyone, new players, players that are more casual, they're not going to realize that. They're not going to take full advantage of the mask system, and
I
it's
see it
probably
like
going to cost them.
if they had like a bar. Think of like a bar system. You have when you activate it, it gives you a speed boost for X seconds, and you have increasing levels. If every time you activate it, it would increase the level. Like there's a green zone, medium zone, and red zone, and every time you activate it, it would go up, and it would slowly decrease to the lower level. Just because that's how I would like to see it.
Yeah, I could see something like that.
'Cause-
That would be a smart implementation.
Because that actually makes like a lot of sense to me. Because
Yeah.
you activate it, it goes straight to the green bar or line, kind of like your speed meter, goes straight there. But you got it. You know that it's X speed boost for 12 seconds, let's say. Then you can activate it again and get the medium zone where you're at risk, and you get another 12 seconds. Maybe that's a little too long, but like maybe like 4 or 6 seconds, and then you activate one time you're in the red zone, you're starting to take damage. And it's kind of simplified, or it's really simple. It doesn't take much to think because it
Yeah.
slowly goes down.
And the other question, I'd have about it is, we know mask from the tabletop causes a certain heat penalty as well, and Russ didn't mention that, the heat penalty being included. The only penalty he mentioned was, you cannot run it all the time, and that you can, potentially damage the internals of of the legs of the mech that's running it. So all right away that threw up flags for me because mask is also supposed to technically damage engines, and it's also supposed to provide a heat penalty. So I'm wondering if they're not including those yet because they want to see how mask is used by the the players in the community, how the meta players adapt to it and utilize it, and then throw those penalties in as needed if they need to try to balance the use of mask better. So
I would love to see it because I imagine like a lot of mechs might actually try to make slower builds, and then use masks to kind of simulate the situations.
well, if it's hard coded, you can't, it doesn't matter because you're not going to be able to bring it into a slower clan.
Oh no, I know what you're talking
So-
about. Yes, yeah. I know.
So, and there hasn't been any mention of it being included yet for Inner Sphere mechs, which technically, for the Inner Sphere you can, include it, at least in terms of, the tabletop build rules in any mech, but that also works for the clans. So it's one of those, gray areas that, you're gonna, if you give it to the Inner Sphere, and allow them to mount it
Like
anywhere
AMS.
on, yeah, similar to AMS, then that'd probably be too big of an advantage. If it gets implemented for the Inner Sphere, it's probably going to have to be by specific variant of a mech, similar to how the ECM is implemented. It can't be, just given to every mech across the board. It would just dramatically, cause, issues of balance
Yeah.
for the inner sphere side.
And their double needs to be no. I know there's some in the lore, but holy fuck, if you got Mask and ECM on a mech, Christ help us.
Oh,
Try to avoid that as much as possible.
see, that's the thing though. Some mechs that have that, like especially the light mechs that have that, they do it, but they sacrifice weaponry for that. They're they're speedy as
They're
hell,
support
and
mechs.
they can't be detected, but they're predominantly recon. They
Tag,
cannot.
narc,
Yeah, they really cannot do
small laser.
Yeah, they're really not meant for one-on-oneing and for even swarming an enemy. They just don't have the firepower to do so. So it's it'd be a headache having something like that zipping in and out and around you all the time, taking small shots. But is it enough to, change a 12v12 match like a fire starter can? I'm probably gonna lean towards no. A fire starter, it might not be, without the, not having mask, it can't, go faster than like 150 when it's speed tweaked, but it might not be able to run like to 170, but it, more than makes up with it with the overall firepower it can bring and use with its speed. So
But I think the ECM and Mask will pay for itself in games where the whole team is organized around a strategy like LRMs, right? Something small and fast that can't be seen that can target for LRM boats would be useful, right? If it's not putting a tag beam out to where you can draw a line to it. Like there are a lot of small mechs that with a good pilot in it can get in some really difficult to find places, and with ECM, and Mask, they can run away if lights start to engage it. And I mean, on the big maps, I think it'll make a difference. On small maps, it'll be worthless. It's against the way the game generally is played now, where it's all DPS and as much front loaded damage as possible.
Well, let's move on to one final topic I want to talk about before we wrap things up, because we're hitting an hour and 35 minutes already. This is a combination of, I think, 3 questions that were asked at the town hall, and that is a combination of Russ saying in the free form, when they were just asking all sorts of questions, that on May 1st, the new Inner Sphere mech pack is going to be announced, I believe. And then, in combination with that, the concept art for the Mauler, the concept art for the Mauler has been done for like a year and some, and I still haven't seen it, and it pisses me off. But also, concept art for the Black Knight and Cyclops are all done. Should be interesting, I think. But with that being said, what would you guys like to see as far as if you had to pick one mech? We're going to leave on a fun question. If you guys had to pick one mech to be in the new Inner Sphere mech pack, what would it be?
Out of those 3,
No, any.
Devastator.
And also, like, timeline doesn't matter. You can pick any mech.
Oh no! Don't do that to me.
I'm doing that to you.
no, let's
does it
include
matter if it's an unseen?
timeline for it, because that
Devastator. No! I changed my mind. Grand Dragon.
I'd have to say the Warhammer Marauder.
That's 2 mechs. You're cheating.
I said or.
I'm going to say Hammer Hands. Tier? Do you got
I'd go with the Spartan. Fast, 86 kph,
That's
Salt.
the 80 tons, right?
Yeah, 80 tons, 2 SR, 2 Streak 2s, 3 medium pulse lasers, an ER PPC, able to run 86 kph, jump capable, nasty assault,
XL
fast
400,
assault.
no big deal.
Yeah, that's the downside though. It's the thing runs in Excel, so.
Yeah.
But I know that one's never getting included. It's
Well, I
one
mean,
not
it
well
only had
known.
one variant, and then it came out much later, right?
Yeah. Well, it was originally a Star League era mech, and it was one
Yeah.
of those that got killed off very quickly in the beginning. So, I'll go, with one that's more readily available. I'd go with the Shootist. Nice heavy
Oh,
design.
yeah.
You got the version that's got the AC-20. You got a version that's got the Gauss rifle. It's a very odd looking mech too. So, I think it'd be fun to see it get redesigned, and included in the game. But
Yeah, so it doesn't look like a Transformers toy.
yeah, I don't know if so much of a transformer. Maybe it would be a degenerated, transformer. Like, yes, this is Shootist. He's special. We don't talk to him very much. Come
I
on,
mean,
guys,
he's got the
let's
V-shaped
go defeat
torso and
this.
stuff like that, like Starscream and the other Seeker bodies, and, the stuff that Harmony Gold sued about. So
Yeah. So, though I will say, I do agree with Rag's first pick. I would love to see the Devastator put in. I feel like the Inner Sphere needs a couple more assault mechs thrown in, and Devastator would be a nice addition.
I'd like to see actually the Exterminator.
Made by
Right,
Dino
it's
Crincey himself.
Star League era mech. They don't have chameleon light pulsation, but they could put in ECM in it. That way, we'd have a heavy with ECM.
Yeah, that'd be
And
true.
it was
What did-
fast. It went like 90.
what did the Devastator eventually become? I feel like wasn't it a protomech?
No, the Devastator had.
Are you talking about
it
the
was
one from McCarran's Armored Cavalry, the second
Yeah,
McCarran's Armored Cavalry book?
originally the Devastator was created on order of Alexander Kerensky, and so when the SLDF never had a lot of them, they only had, I think, 4 prototypes that that they deployed in the liberation of Terra, and then the design kind of got lost after the defense, the liberation of Terra. It got rediscovered by the Federated Sons when they got their copy of the Helm memory core. They created a prototype which had, instead of the PPCs and Gauss rifles, large lasers and AC-10s, because they didn't have all the advanced tech developed yet. That prototype got captured by McCarran's Armored Cavalry in, I think it was like 3040 or something like that. But eventually the Fed Sons had a second prototype developed that had all of the technology up to date, which is the PPCs, the Gauss rifles, the I think it's in an endosteel internal structure. I can't remember for certain, but they ended up creating a couple other variants of it, and it's a nice mech to have. Definitely a long range fighter more than a.
Sorry, yeah,
than,
no, I got confused. I was thinking the Debaku, how it became the Mauler.
The Maulers. The Mauler has technically undergone a number of revisions in its history from the.
I thought that was a rip-off version.
Oh no, the Deboku was the prototype for the Mauler, and technically the Deboku had its own prototype, which was developed by the Capellans and then given to the Combine. But that
The
one,
linesman.
yeah, and that one's actually apocryphal. That's not included in the canon of the BattleTech, but people
it's
like to
considered
bring
part
it up.
of what isn't it because it's part of the cartoon lore?
No, the Deboku is part of the cartoon lore.
Right.
Deboku was used to explain why one of the guys in the cartoon technically has a Mauler before the Mauler. And he says that he recovered it in the War of 3039 before the Mauler ever deployed. So, but the linesman is one of those fluff pieces that got thrown in from I want to say, one of the German publications, and
Yeah.
there are a number of German apocryphal
Oh man, the German
designs
books
that
are so
yeah,
different.
that were included in the German versions.
Didn't they get like 10 or 12 extra books that we never get or something like
Yeah,
that?
there are a number of novels that are that are only German, but there are also a couple TROs and
Yeah, but they're all
have-
considered non-canon, so they don't
because
matter.
like there are, I want to say there's like 3 or 4 German um, origin battle mechs that are either that are super heavies. They're over 100 tons, and then there are a dozen that are extra light mechs that they're like 10, 15
No, the
tons.
Protomax.
No, they're not proto mechs. They're 10 to
Yeah,
15 tons.
Germany's got weird mechs.
Yeah, like they're
Germany also got the proto mechs, but they're also different. They got different rules written for them, I think,
Yeah.
if I recall correctly.
yeah, but
Because just because of these like they're 10, 15 ton battle mech. Like they're actual battle mechs. Like they're
Yeah.
not the proto mechs.
Yeah, like there's one that's an ultralight battle mech called the Ambassador. It's 15 tons. It has no weaponry whatsoever. It runs 177, and it has 2 jump jets, and it was made for ambassadors to take so that they could, walk around on a battlefield without getting, broker ceasefires. And it's one of those things that was included as part of a, fluff piece for something else, and everyone in the mainline battle tech canon looked at it and goes, there's no way we're actually using this thing. It is, no one would use this. No one in their right mind would spend the money to build and to use something like this.
In other words,
That's
the
just
rule
silly.
of it's fucking dumb.
Yeah, which, considering some of the weird crap that actually is canon in BattleTech, that says something when they, purposely say, yeah, this is
So we had a
apocryphal,
grand
we're not
refusal on it,
including
right? We refuse.
Yeah, so
No, I'm looking through the ultralight battle mechs, and I kind of want the Guardian now that I look at it because it's so fucking dumb. 5 machine guns, runs at 64.8 and 15 tons.
Let me tell you something.
boy.
The Vindicator apparently is supposed to have 6 machine guns, but replaced one of the machine guns armed with a PPC.
Oh.
yeah, so some of these are just, they make no sense. And
I think there's a Vindicator variant called the Snake, and it's meant for like anti-infantry. It's like
no, the Snake is a different mech. It's not a Vindicator.
I don't think we'll speak else then.
No, Snake was a undeveloped Star League design that they recovered the Capellans recovered the plans for and put into production.
Because there was a.
Oh man, that Roadrunner. That Roadrunner though, 243 with 2 ER medium lasers. I'm just reading it here.
What are you looking
at? The stupidest fucking mech I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, there are some of these. It's like, what?
Oh.
There's one called the Junior, and there's another called the Slowpoke. Yeah, you can, if you ever actually read the fluff on some of these, you understand why the mainline developers took one look at them and said, no, we've done some weird ass shit, but no.
Anyway,
What?
I think with that ultimate show of dismay and hurts and minds breaking at the look
Like the
and
Roadrunner
sound
maybe
of
because it goes
sheer
so stupid
stupidity,
fast.
which is these battle mechs, I think it is time to wrap up this podcast at almost 2 hours and run. I hope everybody enjoyed, and I hope to God PGI never puts the Roadrunner into the fucking game. Holy shit.
Let's do it, because its purpose is to run around anyway.
Hashtag PGI, please.
You got it has to be a combo pack though. You only buy a combo pack, and you have to buy the slowpoke with it. Mech bait not included.